What's up, YouTube? If you're watching this from MMA Socialist, CalicSports.com, or JRSportsStreet.com, I'm pretty excited to be uploading my first video. What I'm here to talk about is UFC 134 predictions, Silva versus Okami, and Hua versus Griffin. The fights, basically, they're trying to give the Brazilians their hometown advantage. Will there be the hometown advantage? I think not. Even though some fighters do well in their hometown, they'll have the support. So let's get on with the predictions right now. So first fight is Luis Banyakane versus Stanislav Nedkov. Both fighters are relatively young for MMA. Luis Kane recently turned 30, and Nedkov is 29. Nedkov comes in the fight undefeated with a win over Kevin Randleman. You can't say that's a really big win. A win over Travis Hoof, and those aren't big names. We all know. We don't really know Kevin Randleman. You can't really say he's a big name after his recent careers. What's been happening. He just retired recently after his loss, but I know I'm downing him, but I think he will pull off the fight due to the fact is that he is a wrestler with great ground and pound abilities. Luis Kane, we never see him use his wrestling. His wrestling, his grappling, he has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but we do not ever see him use it. All of his fights that he's finished have all been stopped due to the fact that he is hitting, doing striking. He has one submission that's from a soccer kicks from the early in his career, which, that is not a legit submission. A legit submission where he did not, grab a hold of any body part. Arm, leg, neck, didn't do a thing with them. Nothing has not won one of them by that. So, for this fight, I gave it to Stanislav Nedkov by a second round TKO due to ground and pound. Because I see him winning this fight by ground and pound. Alright, next fight is Ross the Real Deal Pearson versus Edson Jr. Barboza. His real name is Edson Mendez Barboza, but his nickname is Junior. So both fighters are great strikers. Ross Pearson's been well known for his striking abilities, even though a lot of his fights have gone to a submission. He has wins with Urena. He has had a couple submissions, one rear naked choke, one triangle, one armbar. Outside of the UFC, he's only had one. No, he's never had one in the UFC. So we've all seen him, be a great striker. He has one TKO, and that was by doctor stoppage. But this other guy is way more powerful than Ross Pearson. The Brazilian is a lot more powerful. 6 of his wins have gone to a knockout or a TKO. He has one submission as an anaconda choke, and that obviously shows that he does have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu abilities, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but that is still one of the hardest submissions to apply. We've seen Renato Sobral do it, but that was a really tough choke to get. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu myself, and I've never been able to apply it. So for the fight, I see this fight going, keeping it standing, but I give it to Edson Barboza via first round TKO due to the fact that he's way bigger than Ross Pearson, and Ross Pearson, probably won't be able to deal with a guy way bigger than him. So I give it to Edson Barboza, first round TKO. Next fight is Brandon the Hybrid Schaub versus Antonio Minotauro Nogueira, or Rodrigo Nogueira, and for this fight, it's obvious who's going to win. I'm saying Brendan Schaub. The thing is, I see the UFC doing this. It's because they kind of want to get rid of a legend, even though he's a legend. They might keep him. They just want this guy gone because he doesn't, fight on a regular basis like Brendan Schaub. Brendan Schaub has been fighting less than, normally less than, maybe 4 months of each fight. He's fighting every 4 months. He's keeping a good schedule. He's fought a total of 3 times in 2010. He has a total of 2 times right now, but he will have his 3rd time this fight. So, he's a lot more active. He's, a lot more in shape. Rodrigo, even though he'll have ring rust, I've seen that ring rust is one of the best things you can have. because you get well rested. You learn you have more concentration, and you're in there to learn and do the best you can. So the ring rust will be good for Rodrigo. I think he probably will do a little bit better with his conditioning. But for the fight, I say Brendan Schaub via maybe another TKO fight, but it's a tough one to call. Even though Rodrigo was caught with a good hit with Cain Velasquez, Brendan Schaub isn't the same as Cain Velasquez, not as powerful. So I see the fight going longer than the first round. So what I think is a third round TKO for Brendan Schaub, because I still think Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira will have some of the ring rust, more conditioning. The conditioning will be a lot better, and he'll be able to take a lot more hits. So Brendan Schaub, third round TKO. Now it's to the co-main event: Mauricio Shogun Rua versus Forrest Griffin. Rua is coming off that horrible loss to John Jones. Again, the thing when you see in Shogun is that he's very unpredictable. We don't know if he's gonna be good, if he's gonna have a fight, like he had with Lyoto Machida the second time, or he could be not so great. What we saw with John Jones. They fought before, and Mauricio Shogun Rua was considered the =1 light heavyweight in the world during that time in 2007. But when Forrest Griffin fought him, even though Shogun Rua was he had some problems, he has some knee problems, he still went in there and looked horrible. Forrest was taking him down, wore him out, and that sounded so wrong, but I apologize. Shogun Rua got very tired, and Forrest was able to use Shogun Rua's gas, him being gassed to get the rear naked choke near the end of that fight. So the fight is going to be tough for Forrest, because he always thinks he normally doesn't think he's going to win most of his fights. So for the fight, I see it going for Forrest Griffin's way. Again, Mauricio Shogun, who is very unpredictable, he could go out there and kill him with leg kicks, but I don't see that happening, because Forrest is built like a tree. And if Forrest Griffin gets him in the clinch and takes him down, he's going to get another easy fight. So I give this to Forrest Griffin by a unanimous decision. Now the main event: Anderson Silva versus Yushin Okami. These guys have fought twice. Are going to fight twice now. First time, Okami won by disqualification, which Anderson Silva was throwing him around like a fucking toy, man. So Anderson Silva is the most dominant UFC fighter of all time. He's basically right now he's considered the greatest of all time over Fedor Emelianenko, due to the fact that Anderson Silva, whenever he goes in there, he normally just dominates the hell out of you. He's one of the toughest guys to beat. So in the fight, people are just saying like, oh, Yushin Okami got the win last time, he probably's going to win again. That's not going to happen, okay? That's probably not going to happen. So, a good chance that's not going to happen. It's going to be Anderson Silva. If he gets, that up, he lost via disqualification by an up kick. I don't see that happening. Anderson Silva's a lot more, more powerful. The Vitor Belfort kick, I don't think that's going to happen ever again. Most likely. But in this fight, Silva's hand, power, his technical ability, his stance, how he controls the ring will get him the win, probably by a second round TKO or KO. So those are my predictions. Check out my Twitter, it's in the description below. And I'll see you guys later, and I'll be back with results after the fight. Alright, peace.